The Church cares, and so does the St. Raymond Annadas Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. Hi, I'm Anne DeSantis, Executive Director. In 2015, the Mercedarian Friars came together because they wanted to start a foundation to help families in crisis. And that's exactly what we've been doing over these years. Whether it be something to do with divorce, separation, trauma, job loss, loss of a loved one, or other adversities, we've helped so many families get through those tough times through the spiritual works of mercy. We'd love to hear from you. Please do get in touch with us for our services. They are prayer, priestly consultation, podcasts and videos, and programs and events. We look forward to hearing from you. Just go to nonotus.org and get in touch with me. I look forward to hearing from you. God bless.
Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry present Journeys in Faith. Now, here's Anne DeSantis.
Hi, good evening, and welcome to Journeys in Faith here on Fiat Ministry Network. It's great to be here. It's the beginning of our new season. This is episode 2 of our third season, so great to be back. I have an amazing guest for all of you this evening. I have a good friend of mine. She resides in Western New York. I have Denise Spadaccia. Denise, thanks so much for coming on to Journeys in Faith.
Thank you for having me.
We have a lot to talk about because you're a person of very deep faith, and I've known you for quite a while, and we're both part of that Mercedarian family,
Yes.
the Mercedarian religious order. It's so a wonderful thing for us to be part of that community.
Absolutely.
Even though I'm down here in Philadelphia, you're up in Western New York, but time and distance does not separate us, does it?
No, we're still family.
That's right. And so I thought for the beginning of the show, if you could just start out with your own faith journey. You know, you went through cancer this past year and treatments, and but anything you want to share about your Catholic faith and maybe
Sure.
the beginning of your life too, and we'd love to hear.
Sure. So I grew up in a small town outside of Albany, New York. And my parents, I was a cradle Catholic. My parents they have now up in heaven. May they rest in peace. They were really devout Catholics. Somebody asked me once, who was the first person to introduce me to Jesus? And I remember so vividly, if I can share this one little story, I was probably 4, maybe 5. And I was a daddy's girl all the way. And my dad had promised me that on a Saturday morning, we were going to go do something. I don't even remember what it was, but I was so excited about whatever it was I was going to go do with my dad. And I woke up first and I went running into his room and I woke him up. And I'm like, come on, Dad, come on, we got to go. And I get up thinking, he's getting out of bed and following me. And then he wasn't behind me. And that was the first time I noticed how he started his day. I looked back and he was on his knees praying. And that just has always stayed with me, just that image of my dad, before he would get up and start his day, he was on his knees with his prayers. So that was always, that stuck with me. And faith really has always been a part of my life, but I would say it was probably 15 to 20 years ago that I really started to take ownership of it as an adult. To really take my faith seriously and really experience what that relationship with Christ really means. So I would say my main faith journey really has been, although lifelong, and more intensely in the last even 10 years. It's just part of my makeup. It's who I am, God is with me, and I know that, and I never hesitate with that knowledge. if that makes sense.
Yes, it really does show. And on the second half of this program, we're going to talk a lot about what you do for a living and your
Okay.
work at Our Lady of Mercy. And but I also would like to talk about your family, because you have really instilled that in your daughters and even in your grandchildren. And you and your husband share that faith. So if you talk a little
We
bit
do.
about that too, because it's amazing to see how your family is really that family of faith, that family that prays together stays together, right?
Yeah. And it is, it's funny because my girls are very different from each other. But they each have, I have two daughters. Let me back up just a minute. I have two daughters. One will be 32 in 2 days. The other one, Kara, is 34. So I have Kara and Katie, and they really are very different girls, but they both have a deep faith, live it very differently. Whereas my youngest, Katie, I mean, she wears her faith on her shirt sleeve. There's no
She does.
question.
In a great way.
And she does, and it's wonderful. And my daughter Kira, she lives her faith a little bit differently, not quite so publicly, but a very deep faith of her own. And so she's raising her children in the faith. She has an 8-year-old boy, Skylar, and a 6-year-old girl, Liliana. And she's raising the children in the faith. In fact, Skylar, we just got to go down and enjoy his witnessing his first reconciliation and first communion in May. And so that was really, really wonderful. And my daughter, Kate, you've met her on numerous occasions, Anne.
Yes.
She lives for ministry in the church. She lives her faith through and through, and she's raising, she's got a 2-year-old boy, Joseph, and she will be giving birth sometime around December 1st with another boy, Peter. So, and fortunately she lives relatively close, so we get to see each other and enjoy each other's company often. My husband and I, our Catholic faith has stayed a part of everything that we do. It's just kind of the basis for our relationship, if you will. And we get to do different things together as a result of it. I mean, we go for our first Saturday devotions, that's our date morning, with mass and confession and rosary, and then out for breakfast. And, we do a lot of things together. A year ago, we joined the organization Teams of Our Lady. We joined a team. And so we get to really communicate with other Catholic couples in a deeper way and share our journeys together. And that's been really helpful for our relationship as well.
I've heard about Teams of Our Lady. Admittedly, I've never been to a meeting, but I definitely make a shout out to our audience to check it out, because I've heard wonderful things about Teams
Really
of
wonderful.
Our Lady.
Yes.
I want to mention one more thing when you were mentioning your family, is that one of our previous guests is your son-in-law. So
Yes.
If anyone hasn't seen that episode with Michael Rosala on Journeys in Faith, go back and check that out. It's on our YouTube channel, and you can simply go to either my YouTube channel at Anne DeSantis, and then we have it also on Journeys in Faith TV. And so I'd also love for you to share your journey over this last year, because you did go through cancer treatments, but as we see you today, looking wonderful.
Thank you. I'm feeling wonderful. Right now, the only remaining symptom I'm dealing with is fatigue, but I can get through that. So yeah, my cancer journey, nobody ever expects to be told they have cancer. I went for a routine mammogram last October. Now, just to back it up just a little bit, I've been a healthy woman, a little overweight, but a healthy woman. And last August, actually, started a few things. I had 3 events in 3 months. So in August of last year, I actually had 2 strokes, just out of the blue, 2 mini strokes. That was in August. In September, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And then in October, diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was just a lot all at once. Forgive me, I have a cat who wants to be in the video
It's okay.
here. I've been trying to get rid of her. It's not going to work.
Oh.
So I can't imagine going through any of that, honestly, without faith, because that was really kind of, well, it was life-altering, really, in a lot of ways. I will say, I kept a journal, by the way, and I hope you don't mind. I'm going to share a couple
Please.
of things I flagged through here as I was looking back and preparing to talk to you today. And I looked at my journal. This was 2 days after my cancer diagnosis. And so this was Saturday, October 30th. And all I wrote was, fewer tears today. Lord, make me like Job. I want to praise you through all of this. I love you and I give you all of me. Jesus, I trust in you. And that kind of became my mantra, you know, as I look back at this now, and it really did kind of become my mantra through all of it. You know, I have to give it all to him because none of it is in my control. I mean, even trying to get appointments made, you know, you hear that you have cancer and you want it out of your body immediately. I don't care what kind of cancer it is. You hear you have cancer, it's like a parasite and you want it out. And it's waiting for this test and waiting for this test and then waiting for this test and waiting for this test. And it was just a long waiting journey. So by November 9th, and I'm just flipping through my journal here just for a minute, November 9th, I still didn't have a date for surgery. And that had to happen before I could start chemo and radiation. And something came up on my Facebook feed on my way to the surgeon's office on Tuesday, November 9th. And it just said, be still. God has designed a perfect path for you. Do not be in a hurry. You can get there in God's perfect timing. And when I think about, you know, how everything played out throughout the journey, I had no control and it had to be in God's timing. The other thing that really struck me is that through that journey, anytime I was feeling particularly down or anxious, I would get a phone call from somebody unexpected. I would get a card in the mail from somebody unexpected. It was like the timing of everything was God's timing, and he provided everything that I needed at the moment that I needed it. And boy, did I learn a lot from that through my journey. Just that God was going to take care of everything. I had a note, this is on February 2nd. So this was, I'd had one surgery, and this was the morning before I was having a second surgery. And I just have this note in here. They were gonna, you know, I was gonna have 3 incisions with this second surgery. They had to go back in, remove more breast tissue because they hadn't gotten all of my cancer on the first surgery. They were having another incision to remove lymph nodes and a third incision to put in a Metaport for my treatments. But I'm looking here, and my comment on that day was, God is so good. My God is way bigger than cancer. Again, just the way this journey has gone and where God has been in it. I do want to add, though, I have a husband who is absolutely amazing. So my husband is Larry. We'll be married 37 years next month. So we've been together a long time. Thank you. We've really been together a long time. And he was my rock through all of this, as is appropriate. And he was so strong. When I'd be weak, he was strong, and it was okay. 2 weeks after my first chemo treatment, my hair started to fall out. 2 weeks to the day. And within a week, my scalp felt awful. The hair felt awful because it changes. You know, you get all those medications in it. It changes. My scalp actually hurt as the hair was falling out. And, you know, I've never been one who's been overly concerned about my image, but losing my hair, you know, especially those first few days when it was coming out in clumps, it wasn't just thinning, like a part of this would be missing and then a part here was missing. You know, I felt blah. I didn't feel well anyway because I was going through chemo. And so one of my dear friends who had gone through the same cancer that I was then going through, she offered to come over and shave my head for me. And her husband is a good friend of my husband's. So the two men were in the living room chatting while my friend Sue was in the kitchen shaving my head. And I have to say,
Mhm.
that was hard, but the hardest moment was walking back out into the living room with a shaved head and looking at my husband. And that was his one moment of tears. It was like,
Oh,
that one really struck him, when
mm,
my hair fell out, and it was like so visual. And from that point, nobody maybe would have known what I was going through to look at me. From that point on, there was no disguising it. I had no hair. It was a whole new it was just a whole new step in the journey. And
mm.
that was really hard for both of us. And I didn't think that the hair thing was going to bother me that much, but it did. And I didn't think it was going to bother my husband so much, but it did.
But it did.
It really did. But you know what? We got through that. And I am currently, let's see, my last chemo treatment was early May. So figure by end of May, pretty much done with chemo. So June, July, August. This is 3 months post chemo as far as hair growth. Kind of loving it, sporty.
It looks great. It really does.
It's coming in curly. It's coming
Mhm.
in gray. It's okay.
And it's very easy.
It's very easy. Yeah, it is. It's been really easy. It's kind of nice. It was nice and cool for those hot summer
Mhm.
days.
Oh, awesome.
Although I did get a sunburn the first time I went out before it started coming in.
Well, honestly, I've been able to kind of accompany you on the journey, even though
Yes.
we're in different cities, right? And just talking with you, communicating with you. You're also, I should mention, Denise is also the board treasurer for the St. Raymond Onatus Foundation, where I serve as the executive director. So we communicate there too. So being able to kind of watch her during this journey and seeing her growth in her spiritual life. And as she mentioned, even with her husband, there were some hard times there. You mentioned about the first time when he saw that you were losing your hair, but how he's really gotten you through to
Oh
persevere
my gosh.
and be stronger now in your marriage is just incredible.
Yes,
Such a
stronger in my
witness.
marriage, but I also have to say stronger in my faith. Like
Mm.
I had a solid faith going into this, but the way God carried me through it, it's that much stronger. So, people might think it's odd for me to say that cancer was a blessing for me. Not that I would wish to go through it again,
Right.
but I can truly see the blessings that came from my experience with cancer. I had an opportunity. It was I was nearly done with my radiation treatments, and radiation was 5 days a week for 4 weeks. So it was every day. I had
I
to head
remember.
into Rochester for that. And the one day, I think I had 3 or 4 radiation sessions left. And normally there's not an overlap in the radiation waiting room. So I'm generally, they take me in, I get in my gown, I sit in another waiting room until the person before me is out, and then I'm right in. Well, this time when they put me in the waiting room, there was a woman there, I would say about my age. So, very young. So she was there, and she got handed her calendar with all these appointments. And I said, oh, I remember seeing that calendar, anyway, we got to chatting, and she was there because her mom had been diagnosed with cancer, and her mom was 84, different kind of cancer than mine. But she said her mom was just really emotionally a basket case over it.
Mm.
She knew she hadn't started chemo yet. She was going to be doing chemo and radiation at the same time. I had an opportunity before I went in for my radiation when they were bringing her out. I asked the radiation techs if they could give me a minute. And I actually had an opportunity to talk to her and encourage her. And I gave her a hug, and I said, you know what? I said, you're going to get through this. It's going to be hard, but telling her things to look out for. And I said, the biggest thing, I said, you have to be kind to yourself.
Mm.
I said, when you're tired, rest. When you feel like you need to cry, cry. I said, it's all about getting yourself through this right now. And she gave me a big smile, and she hugged me back, and she was grateful. And I thought, you know what? I want to be able to have, not that I want anybody to go through cancer, but I want to be that person that can encourage others. Having gone through it, having known what helped me, what my friends did for me, I want to be that face of God
Mm.
for others who have to go through it. So I'm going to look for opportunities to do that, because to me, I'm a better person for having had cancer than I was beforehand.
Well, what I'm hearing is mission, that God has given you a
Absolutely.
greater mission even than you ever have had before. I mean, you've always had your role as a wife and a mother, and even your mission as a baptized Catholic who's living out their faith, right? But
Right.
really being a beacon of light for those people who are feeling discouraged. So we have a lot more to talk about. We do have to
Okay.
take a short break. So we'll be right back here on Journeys in Faith in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Journeys in Faith on Fiat Ministry Network with Denise Spadaccia. She is a wonderful guest for our second episode of this season. So Denise, again, thank you so much for taking the time to let me interview you for your wonderful faith journey.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you again. So for the first half of the show, we talked about your faith, your family, your journey with cancer. And I thought maybe for this part of the show, we could talk a little bit about that commonality that we both have with the Mercedarian order.
Sure.
Of course, you work for Our Lady of Mercy, St. Brigid's Parishes in Western New York. I visited there before, and I just love the community there, the people. And I'm the executive director for the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation, which is a Mercedarian ministry. So what's it like for you day to day? Tell us what you do with your interactions at church with the people. And I know you're a catechist, and you also work with young adults and youth as well. So tell us more.
Sure. So I am the director of faith formation for the parish. So I run our religious education program, which is for our first graders through 11th grade, including their sacrament preparation for first reconciliation, first communion, and confirmation. I also facilitate a weekly formation program for adults, which you've joined us for occasionally, Anne. That's been great.
Yes, I love it.
And that's been really great for me, getting to share my faith and grow in my faith too with other adults. I also lead parent catechesis during our religious education year. Once a month, we have a day that the parents come in for catechesis, and I have been leading that for, I think, 4 years now. So I love it. So I'm at the church. I pretty much live there. Many church workers, I'm sure, feel that way. It is a blessing to be there. It's a blessing to serve in ministry there. One other part of my job that doesn't really seem like ministry, but can be, is that I run our cemetery. I'm kind of the superintendent of our parish cemetery, which sometimes, just involves selling plots or making sure graves get opened when people pass away. And sometimes it doesn't seem like much of a ministry position, but at the same time, if somebody comes in because they've just lost somebody, and they're grieving that very fresh loss of a loved one, but they don't have cemetery plots. So, they're right in the middle. I mean, the funeral obviously hasn't happened yet. The pain is really fresh. And, walking with these people as they're choosing cemetery plots, and I have that opportunity to share Christ's love there as well, and just try to give them as much comfort as I can, reinforce the fact that we'll be praying for them and they can call anytime they need anything. And so even the cemetery piece, it doesn't really kind of play into my faith formation role, but at the same time, it does give me an opportunity for ministry as well. So yeah, we're gearing up for a new year. We're going to start our faith formation program, starts up again next Sunday. I start our adult faith formation new season this coming Wednesday. This past summer, I had an opportunity to lead a teen Bible study. And it's wonderful to have teenagers. I had 8 teenagers. They give up a half a day a week to come to Bible study. And it's, it's wonderful. It's just awe-inspiring for me. So love my job. It's one of those things I love going to work every day. Well,
it shows. It really shows. Good. And the other thing you do, which I think you're still doing, is that daily rosary, right? Aren't you doing?
Yes. So our parish leads the rosary. We do it ever since COVID hit. I felt that there was something we needed to try and connect a little bit more on a spiritual level. In the beginning of COVID, when the church was shut down, we weren't allowed to go in, we weren't coming together for things. We were required to work from home. Father Matthew Phelan was our pastor at the time. And I just said to him, I said, I feel like I need to use the technology that we have and at least lead a rosary every day until we get back in the church. And he agreed. So I started out doing it from home. And honestly, some days there's 20 people praying the rosary with me. So we do the rosary on our parish Facebook page every day at 10:30. It's normally me who leads it. Except on Thursdays, there's a gentleman, we have adoration in the church on Thursdays, and he likes to lead the rosary from the church on those days. So, I'm more than happy to share the role, but we lead the rosary every day. And it's wonderful to have so many people praying together. We share our prayer intentions initially before we start the rosary, and it's been really good. And so we've been back in the church, obviously, for over a year, and this daily rosary has just continued.
So wonderful. And also for people who are watching that want to go and watch it every day, or sometimes when you're available, just go to Our Lady of Mercy and St. Brigid's parishes, look it up on Facebook, and you'll be able to see Denise praying that rosary. I believe it's Monday through Fridays at 11 a.m.
Monday through
Eastern
Friday
time.
At 10:30 a.m.
Oh, 10:30 a.m.
10:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Yes. Good to know. Good to know. So as we're coming a little bit closer to the end of the show, I thought we could talk a little bit about the Mercedarian charism, because, basically the Mercedarians live poverty, chastity, obedience, and then that willingness to give their lives for those in danger of losing their faith. And I know you live that out too. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, I have to say that, as long as I have worked at Our Lady of Mercy Parish, we've been with the Mercedarians. So when I first was hired, it was the year 2000. I was brought in by Father Michael Rock to come in and do some work. And so I did not know the parish. I was not part of the parish when they were handled by the diocese. So my entire time at Our Lady of Mercy has been with the Mercedarians. There is something about them. I won't be able to put my finger exactly on it, but first of all, they are very Marian. Obviously, their devotion
Amen.
to Our Lady, and is incredible, and that really touches me. And people ask me, especially if they're non-Catholics, why the thing about Mary? Why Mary? Why Mary? Why not Jesus? But I look at Mary, and right from the get-go, what was her role? Her role was to point us to her son, not to herself. She never points to herself. She points to her son. And so to see that lived out so fully with the priests, the friars who staff our parish, has just been a joy. I will mention that redemptive vow. So the fourth vow that the Mercedarians take is to offer their life to save others from captivity. Now, originally in the 1200s, that meant specifically ransoming prisoners, ransoming captives who are being held captive because of their Catholic faith. But they continue to live that charism. And what I see, with our friars, and now we have Father Scottston Brentwood and all of them, although we're not in prison, we're not behind bars, we all have some sort of captivity. That sin is the big thing. And I see these friars on a daily basis giving of themselves in any way that they can to care for the souls that have been entrusted to them. And, we see that sacrifice that they make of their time, of their efforts, of their prayers for the benefit of all of us on a daily basis. And it's beautiful. We'll get calls from other parts of the county because they can't get a diocesan priest to come and anoint somebody, or,
Wow.
they just can't reach anybody. Our priests will jump and they'll go across the county to make sure that somebody gets last rites or, gets taken care of in their moments. So that fourth vow really makes them who they are, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And I do want to just mention to our audience too, that please do check out the website of the Mercedarian Friars. If you've never really learned about them or want to know more, the website is orderofmercy.org. And on all the social media platforms, for the most part, they're under Mercedarian Friars USA. So please do connect with them, because we both can't say enough good
No.
about our experiences with the order. And it's been just so wonderful to be a part of that Mercedarian family. And that's how Denise and I were friends, but we're also family.
Right.
So that's really an amazing thing. So as we're coming to a close, I thought, would you have any advice? Now, originally, when I asked you this question, it would be about for parents or grandparents, but even those who might be going through tough times.
I would say, first, parents and grandparents, be strong in your faith. Don't be afraid to show it. Let your children see you pray. Pray together with your children. With your grandchildren, let them know how important your faith is to you. Let them see that that's what makes you who you are. So be a witness. For others who are struggling, I think for those who are struggling, maybe first go to our mother. Because who gives us the most comfort? Who has our back more than any other person? Is our mother, right? I remind my children of that. Nobody's got their backs like I do, but who's even better at that than I am as their birth mother, as our spiritual mother? Go to our mother. Let her comfort you. Let her guide you. Let her point you in the one direction she always points, which is to her son. And what she said when Jesus performed his first miracle at the wedding feast in Cana? What did Mary tell those servers? Do whatever he tells you. And if we can do whatever he tells us, how beautiful the world becomes. It doesn't take away hardships, but it makes hardships bearable. When we have crosses to bear, if we can share that cross with our Lord, he takes the weight of it. We carry just a little splinter compared to what he takes for us. So go to Our Lady. Mary wants you in her life. Mary wants to be your mother, and Mary wants to carry you to her son. And if you allow that to happen, you will receive so much comfort, so much love, so much grace that you will get through anything. It doesn't mean that all of your problems are going to go away, but your outlook on them will be changed. Their effect on you will be changed, and totally you'll be changed.
Amen. So beautiful. And I love how you brought Mary into it, because we're both Mercedarians. So we can say, Our Lady of Mercy,
Pray for us.
Pray for us. So Denise, thank you so much for being a guest on this show. I'd love to have you back again because, we have a lot more to talk about too. I mean, we kind of ended it here because it's a half-hour show, but
Right.
we have you back and talk about some other topics. But
Well, thank you so much for even allowing me to share my journey with you.
Absolutely. Can you leave us with the website information and any type of social media for your parish? I think that may be a good place for people to learn more about not only what you do, but about the parish too.
Sure. So our website is Our Lady of Mercy Leroy.org. You've got to get the Leroy in there. So
Okay.
Our Lady of Mercy Leroy.org will get you on our website. It'll also have links to the St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation, to the Mercedarians themselves. You'll get all kinds of information on there.
Awesome.
And our Facebook page is Our Lady of Mercy and St. Brigid Parishes, because we are linked with St. Brigid's in a nearby town in Virgin, New York.
And I love that church too. And I want to make a shout out. One last thing is that for people watching this video who are from anywhere close or even a visitor there, please do stop in for Mass. Please do stop into the church, see its beauty, meet Denise, and meet the Mercedarians. So
That'd be awesome. I'm there just about every day, so come and say hi.
thank you. God bless, Denise. And we'll see all of you here next week on Journeys in Faith. God bless.
Thank you, Anne.
Journeys of Faith is a production of Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry. For more information about Journeys of Faith, email info@fiatministrynetwork.tv. And be sure to friend, follow, and like us on social media. Just search Journeys in Faith with Anne DeSantis.